everyone, I'm Ryan from Fireside Knicks with my friend and co-host Dylan Backer, and we're very excited to have an opportunity to discuss. Unfortunately, we're going to go live, and YouTube decided not to, but we'll be on Twitter. You'll have heard us on Twitter Spaces already by this point in time. But we wanted to get this episode out for the morning because these are two, I think, good moves for the Knicks. The Knicks, obviously, they signed Donte DiVincenzo to a 4-year deal. $50 million. I imagine we'll get more details about player options or club options or stuff like that when it becomes official, because obviously you can't sign anyone officially until Thursday. And this rings true for the trade with Obi Toppin, which we'll discuss later on in the episode. But, Dylan, I just wanted to get initial thoughts, immediate reactions to the Knicks acquiring a guy who I felt like was their top target entering the offseason, not named Josh Hart.
Right, so Donte DiVincenzo, like you just said, was the top target for the Knicks. It seemed pretty clear that he was likely to come here. I mean, it was kind of just like, it was meant to be. DiVincenzo coming back to, with his Villanova boys and Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart coming to the Knicks. He could just fit right into the rotation right then and there, in the backup guard role or even the starting shooting guard role. It depends what they do about Quentin Grimes, so, it's a good signing right there. I thought 4 years, 50 mil. I thought it was a pretty solid deal. Some people might say it's a little much, but, he's a very solid player. He's an NBA champion. He's a very above average shooter and a pretty solid defender. He's a good rebounder for his size. You can kind of plug him in anywhere. You can plug him in off the bench or your starting rotation, whichever one you prefer, whichever one the Knicks feel like they should do with him. So I think it's a solid deal, and it's important that you signed him to a contract like that, because now you have him tied to the Knicks for a few years. You're going to have him alongside Brunson and Hart while they're here in New York, at least during this type of championship window, I like to refer to it as, for these next 4 years or so. So I think it's a good move. I think it's a fantastic move. I think, he provides very good scoring, defense, all that stuff. I don't think he's going to be having eye-popping numbers. I don't think he's going to be averaging crazy numbers, but that's not the reason they signed him. They signed him because they need to improve spacing. They want to get a younger, nice little addition to the guard spot, some depth back there. It's a depth signing, but it's a good one. It's one that's definitely going to get a lot of burn. It's one that's going to make a huge impact for the Knicks. I think both sides, you're going to see his impact. Overall, I think it's a good signing. I think this was the guy they needed to go for, and they got him. Last year it was Jalen Brunson. They got him. This year it was DiVincenzo. Yes, it's not the same level, but they got him. That's where they started off with free agency. Now I think it's time we, start to pivot more towards the trade market. There weren't that many good free agents this off season. DiVincenzo was kind of our main target. That was the main guy that we knew we could get, fit wise and also just affording wise, because we got a lot of players still under contract. I'm pretty sure actually every single player from the roster last year is currently under contract, and we still have some other contracts to move, such as Evan Fournier's contract and stuff like that, and possibly even RJ Barrett, depending on what they do, if they decide to make a splash trade or not, things like that. But with that being said, overall, I like the signing. I think it's exactly what they need to do. Point blank like that. I don't think they really did anything wrong with this. I think this is what they needed to do. This was the guy they had to go after. They got him. Yes, it wasn't a marquee name. It wasn't a superstar, but it was a guy that will fit right in and will fit instant. The second the season starts, game one of the regular season, he will fit right in. You'll see his impact felt from day one all the way to game 82 and into the postseason. So those are kind of my opening thoughts on it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think Donte DiVincenzo helps the Knicks on the perimeter on both sides of the ball, and I think the Knicks needed help on both sides of the ball in terms of perimeter play. The Knicks they shot 34.7% from three despite ranking 8th in attempts. That is only 24th in the league. We know this team did an excellent job of offensive rebounding and just getting a lot of shots up. So while they didn't necessarily shoot super efficiently, they had a lot of makes. They had a pretty good offensive rating. I think that having just an efficient perimeter player is going to help them a lot. Defensively, the Knicks, again, it's kind of like the inverse of their offense. They actually, they same thing. They didn't allow a high efficiency of shots from three, only the 8th lowest percentage from three in the league. So that's pretty good. But they allowed the 7th most threes in the NBA still. And that's because of the fact that the Knicks really, again, struggle with preventing threes. Teams know they can attack the Knicks there. I think teams are confident that they can beat the Knicks there. Mitchell Robinson, of course, creates a deterrence on the interior. So you really want to make sure you have a strong defensive presence there. And DiVincenzo's a big part of the Golden State Warriors defense. And really, he's been a strong defender his entire career. People forget, he wasn't necessarily a sharpshooter with the Bucks. He was kind of up and down there. He was never really a reliable 3-and-D guy, but more of a defense guy. And he just had the 3-point shot finally fall for him this year after years of it trending in the right direction. We know what he's capable of. He was the starting shooting guard on a championship Bucks team. I know he got hurt in the postseason, but he got them to a position to be what? I think they're the 1 seed that year. Clearly the best team in the East. They were unbelievable that season. Part of a bunch of really good Bucks teams. Part of a playoff team for the Warriors. He's been on really good teams in the past as a starter and on off the bench. So you know that he's capable of playing both of those roles. You know he's capable of being part of a winning environment. And, of course, having that synergy with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. This is just the type of guy who makes your team better. And I think you really hit on it here. The Knicks have identified and gotten their guy for 2 straight offseasons. Now, again, Jalen Brunson, better player than Donte DiVincenzo is, but they're really good at identifying guys who are good fits for them. Josh Hart was like that in the trade deadline. I feel like they've done a better job at identifying these things. And $50 million, the contracts have been given out this $80 million, guys. Dylan Brooks is getting $80 million for the same amount of years. And the dude was such a locker room issue that Memphis didn't want him back. They made it public they didn't want him back. I think that's wild. But I think they got really good value. I think they got a really nice player here. And I guess the question I'd throw back at you is, do you think he's going to be playing more off the bench or in a starting role? Not necessarily on opening night, but by the end of the season, what do you think his role looks like?
Right, so I think his role is he's gonna be playing a lot of minutes. I want to make that first. I feel like initially they're gonna have him come off the bench and play alongside Emmanuel quickly if he's still on the team, of course. So have kind of that 1-2 punch of a good, scoring and defensive combination from the both of those guys. Provide again if Emmanuel quickly is still on the Knicks on opening night, which I fingers crossed hope is the case. But if they have to make a trade and it involves quickly and it's for the right guy, then so be it. But regardless, DiVincenzo is gonna play a huge role. You don't sign a guy to that much money to have him play a small role. He's going to play a huge role. There might be nights that he starts at the shooting guard or something like that, or there might be nights he is the first guy off the bench. He's the sixth man, or there are nights that he's just playing a lot of minutes off the bench or something. That we really don't know what role they're definitely going to play DiVincenzo in. All I know is for certain he's going to be playing a huge role. He's going to be playing a big role. He's going to be getting a lot of minutes. He's definitely going to get like the same type of minutes, probably around the similar type of minutes as Josh Hart. I can definitely expect to see DiVincenzo and Hart sharing the floor together a lot. I think that's something I really expect to see quite a bit, especially since they have the Nova chemistry, 1, but 2, I think just them 2 together is a pretty solid pairing. You got 2 guys that can shoot the ball pretty well and also defend well and rebound well. Those are 2 guys right there that can really help deepen your bench a little bit and give you good play on both sides of the ball in that sequence. And I think that would be the best possible fit for DiVincenzo, probably coming off the bench to start the year, playing alongside, maybe if quickly still here, 1, and definitely alongside Josh Hart. I feel like that would be really good. I feel like that'll provide a lot of exciting basketball from those bench guys, because usually most teams don't have the most exciting bench, but the Knicks have guys on the bench that can make a huge impact, even if they're not dropping 50 points or getting 20 rebounds or anything crazy like that. So I think you're overall going to see a lot of just fun play, and you're going to see these guys hustle. Donte DiVincenzo hustles. He plays hard. He plays fierce. He plays with a lot of energy. I think that'll be really good for the Knicks. Just having another guy that can provide you a lot of energy. Some endurance. And he's just things like that. Simple as that. I mean, there's not much to it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not expecting Donte DiVincenzo to go out and drop 15 points per game or anything crazy like that. No, I don't expect that. I expect his stat line to look very similar to what it was this past season, which was like 9 points a game and 4 rebounds, something like that, close to 40% from 3. I expect similar type of production out of him right now when he comes to the New York Knicks. But I do expect his play to be impactful. I do expect it to make a difference. I think just adding him alone gives us so much more depth, because now you're not relying on you possibly won't need to use a 9-man rotation. You can use a traditional 10-man rotation, so using 9 guys, you're not tiring them out come postseason time. I think we saw that this past season, that using the 9-man rotation, while it did let them win more games, they were definitely a little more tired come postseason, and that's what happens. Running a 10-man rotation kind of keeps these guys, keeps them loose, but also doesn't drill them to the ground. You keep them fresh, you keep them healthy and all that stuff. I think DiVincenzo allows you to go back to that spot. And with that being said, I mean, I just expect him to play a big role. I'm really excited to see what he can provide. I'm excited to see what he'll bring to the New York Knicks. I'm glad they signed him. As like I mentioned, there weren't many good free agents available this offseason, but he was the one guy that I was like, all right, they got to get DiVincenzo. They got to. I mean, yes, he's not like like I said, he's not like a superstar or an all-star, none of that. It's just a matter of fit. He fits perfectly into the Knicks. I think he'll fit right in. It's a very seamless fit. I'm just happy they got him. Like you mentioned too, they got their guy for the second year in a row. And yes, obviously Jalen Brunson is miles better than Donte DiVincenzo will probably ever be. But with that being said, I mean, I'm just happy the Knicks are doing the right moves because, it's always better to do this rather than make moves for the sake of making moves. You want to make the right moves. You want to sign the right guys. You want to sign the guys that are going to fit. I think Donte DiVincenzo fits really well. Those are kind of just my thoughts on it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think the big things that hit the head on here is that yeah, points per game wise, definitely not going to be a guy that blows you away on the stat sheet, but I think it's the on court impact that you're looking for, and I think his on court impact is going to be really good. And I'm very excited to see how he works with this team. I think they are going to be fun. I think there's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of hustle, and I think that's kind of what the Knicks are, right? Like a Tom Thibodeau led Knicks team is always going to pride themselves in that. I think that's one of the big things that you were looking for when you acquired Tom Thibodeau. I think this allows them to have a more modern offense too, because DiVincenzo can be a catch and shoot guy reliably. The fact that the Knicks were 8th in attempts from three, it's not like the Knicks don't want to be, an air raid offense or don't want to have that like air raid offense aspect to them that a lot of these, championship teams have had. I believe the Lakers in 2020 are like the only team in recent years to win the NBA title without being top 10 to 3-point percentage. You have to be good at shooting threes to win in this league. You have to be, right? We are well past the era where that was a new concept or where that was a controversial take. You have to be a 3-point shooting team in this league to win. And I think that Donte DiVincenzo helps with that. And end of the day, didn't cost you too much to do it. So, just from a flat AAV standpoint, I believe it's a hair over $10 million a year. I'm going to get the exact number here. It's on just average annual salary. Obviously, NBA, like it fluctuates. We don't know if it's ascending, descending. You know what the options look like, whether they're player or club options. But it's $12.5 million a year, just flat average value, which I think is a great deal. Just looking at how the Knicks deals stack up to deals around the league, Julius Randle makes less than Jeremy Grant. Fred VanVleet makes more than Jalen Brunson. Dylan Brooks makes more than Donte DiVincenzo. Like I think that speaks to how good the Knicks are at getting their guys and getting their guys to sign at prices they want them to sign at. So with that being said, the Knicks had someone depart the team this today. They made a trade. Obi Toppin, who we knew I felt like we knew was going to get traded. I thought this was an inevitability. Actually, when we did our episode, kind of talking about what we think the first move of the offseason will be, we said Josh Hart. And I said dark horse. I think it might be a trade on draft day. But the other popular take was Obi Toppin. The Pacers were a team that has been linked to him for a while, I believe since the deadline. We get 2 second-round picks. We don't get any players in return, which actually kind of helps us. We don't have to add on any cap space. I think we shed about $5.3 million. Overall, I thought the Knicks did a decent job for what the value of Obi Toppin is right now. I wish him the best of luck, but I felt like this was a move they had to make. What do you think, Dylan?
Right, so Obi Toppin got traded. It was like you said, it was inevitable. It was gonna happen. It wasn't gonna work out in New York for Obi. He was not gonna play ahead of a 2-time All NBA player. Whether you disagree or agree, I know it's a very popular take on social media of Obi should be playing over Randall, but let's be honest here for a second. He was not gonna play over Randall. That was never gonna happen. And even if they did trade Randall, I don't think Obi Toppin was ever gonna get elevated to the starting power forward role. They would have just, if theoretically, if you were to trade Randall, you probably are going to trade for his replacement. So that leaves Obi Toppin still in a tough spot in New York. So it was good that they were able to move Obi to a young team, a team that he's going to get opportunity in. He's going to get opportunity in Indiana. Yes, I know some fans were upset because they were like, oh, he's going to flourish in Indiana now, and Indiana is going to become a threat to us in the Eastern Conference, all this stuff. I understand that, but at the same time, man, you had to do it. You had to do what you had out of Obi Toppin now, where you had some value out of him. You got 2 second-round picks out of him. Yes, it's good that you were able to get picks out of him at all, but that just kind of shows the kind of value you really had left in Obi, that you can only get second-rounders in it. They couldn't even get a first-rounder for a guy who was drafted 8th overall. That's not ideal, but at the end of the day, I'm glad they were able to at least get something in return. I'm glad it wasn't just like absolutely nothing. And like you said, adding another player is not necessarily the end of the world because you're not adding on more cap space. So it's a good right there. They were able to do that. I do wish Obi Toppin the best of luck. I never held anything personal against the guy. I just, didn't think it was going to work in New York. I don't think it was meant to have him be just strictly a spot up shooter off the bench and only playing 10 minutes. And for retrospective, he was only playing 10 minutes because Julius Randle plays ahead of him. You're not going to sit Randle for 25 minutes a game just so Obi Toppin can get burned. You're not going to do that when you're trying to win basketball games. And Julius Randle is clearly the better player. So that's what happened. It didn't work out. I wish Obi the best of luck. Like I said, I hope he does really well in Indiana. I hope he gets his opportunity that he's been begging for really for the past 3 to 4 years. I really hope he gets a lot of, burn. He plays well. I wish the best. I have nothing against him at all. Never did. I just think for the New York Knicks' sake, it was not going to work. It was time to move on. I'm glad they were able to get it done and not, stall things or make things possibly awkward by not moving him at all and kind of running it back. I'm glad they didn't do that. Now we kind of got to look at who's going to replace him at the backup four spot. You know, there probably aren't that many options left in the free agent market. So assumingly, if you want to get a backup forward, you're probably going to have to do it in a trade. And when I say that, I mean you're probably gonna, if you like make a splash move for like say a Paul George or something, you might have to go get one of their backup forwards in the deal as well, just to add to it. A cheap one, not like another star I'm talking about here. So that's probably what they're gonna have to do. I don't have an idea of what kind of trade they would make with that, who exactly they would get in a hypothetical trade for a star to also come and be a backup forward. I don't know. That's definitely another conversation to have at some point, but that's kind of where the Knicks are at now. They just got to focus on the trade market at this point. They got, like I said, they got DiVincenzo. Now you focus on the trade market. You traded Obi earlier in the day. Now you focus on other trades you can make to not only fill in Obi's spot, of course, that's a given, but also just to improve the roster. They still have many moves to make. I really don't think they're done just yet. I honestly can't expect them to just run it back with this exact same roster and DiVincenzo added, considering that now they need a backup forward 1 and 2. They want to win. They have a championship window, so it's time for them to really step it up a little bit and make some moves. Adding the 2 second-round picks is huge because you added some more draft capital. Yes, I know second-round picks don't hold nearly the same amount of value as a first-round pick, but any picks are better than no picks, and it's definitely going to be usable in trades. So those are kind of just my thoughts on the Obi trade. I think it was meant to be. I'm glad they were able to get it done for both sides. You added more draft capital if you're the Knicks, and for Pacers, you got a young, athletic forward who will finally get some opportunity that he's been wanting. So it's a win-win for both sides, really. I know some fans were upset. I understand they're upset. I know some fans wanted to see Obi Toppin play a lot, but I personally think it was the right move. I think it was the right decision. So those are kind of just my thoughts on it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so number one, you are the good cop here because you're saying whether you believe Toppin should start or not. No, whether you are smart and know basketball or not. Whether that's really what it is in my opinion. If you think Julius Randle shouldn't play over Obi Toppin, you don't know the game of basketball. And you need to reconsider what you watch. You maybe need to get your eyes checked. I actually recently lost my glasses, so I feel you there. If you can't feel like if you feel like your vision's a little blurred, maybe go rewatch the next season. Go watch some tape. Go look at the data. Go look at the numbers. To quote a former coach of ours, take that for data. But with that being said, in all seriousness, I thought the Knicks did a good job here. As you mentioned, this felt like an inevitability. It felt like the Knicks were doing not what they owed to Obi Toppin, but kind of, I in a sense, not that they owe Obi Toppin to trade him, but I felt like this is like a relationship that just had to come to an end. These two were better without each other. The Knicks need a backup four who can space the floor a little bit, even if that means getting creative and having like Hart play those minutes, or fill in that 4 role. Like I'd be fine going with a small ball lineup, because Hart's an aggressive rebounder, because Quickly's a good defender. If DiVincenzo's off the bench, DiVincenzo's also a great defender, and Hartenstein's really taken a leap as a defensive player. You can also throw McBride in there if you need to for like certain possessions. Excellent defensive player. Like I feel like the Knicks defense on the bench is good enough to mask for the fact that they're a small lineup. And if you have to reevaluate that at the deadline, so be it. I'm fine with that being the method they take, though I do think they'll explore an option for a backup power forward. And I'm kind of interested in a guy like Derek Jones Jr. I think he declined his club option. I don't know if he signed because I can't tell because Twitter's down, and my account got limited. Fun facts. I can't even tweet. But with that being said, I think overall getting 2 second-round picks, I think, as you said, kind of tells you where the value is at for Toppin. He's just not a guy that teams consider a proven player, right? Like they view him as a project. Hell, man, even Cam Reddish got a first-round pick when he was traded. Like I know it was a protected first, but it was still a first-round pick. Toppin is just he's a year 3. He's entering his 4th year in the NBA. He was an older prospect when initially drafted. He defensively, he's a liability. He's not going to add much spacing to your court. And you have to bank on the upside. And I think that's a good thing to do. I think also the aspect that I really like about Toppin, if I'm a team like the Pacers, is that for all of the questions I have about him on the court, first off, I don't care if he doesn't figure them out. If he doesn't figure them out, then I'll just move off him. But number two, I think he has a great attitude. I think he's a great guy. Like I think that's something like no disrespect to Cam Reddish here, but I didn't get the vibe that Cam Reddish was okay with doing whatever it takes for the team to win. I think he just wanted an opportunity, which is fair. But Obi Toppin, I think not only just wants an opportunity, but he's a guy that locker room's gonna love. I know the Knicks locker room loved him. He was a beloved part of that locker room. He was fun. He could electrify Madison Square Garden with a crazy dunk. He's ridiculously athletic. If you're a Pacers fan, which, if you're a Pacers fan watching Fireside Knicks, like, shout out you, man, because I imagine that percentage is not very high. But if you're a Pacers fan watching this episode, you're getting a great dude. Like, you're getting, for all the question marks about his game, yes, he's a defensive liability. No, I don't know if he can shoot. And I don't know if he's going to pan out. You're getting a great guy. And that's the big thing there. And the Knicks opening up cap space, getting some picks. I know, end of the day, you would like to get a player in return because you get more value. But I think the cap space at that point, you'd rather just be able to choose who that player is. The Pacers don't really have players you're looking at and saying, all right, this guy is number one worth Obi Toppin, and number two, I want him on the Knicks. Like, you're not getting Tyrese Halliburton for Obi Toppin. Obviously, everyone would want Tyrese Halliburton. Hell, the Pacers really want Tyrese Halliburton because they gave him that big deal. But end of the day, it was the move they had to make. And it's unfortunate because you draft him with a first round pick, and you're like, hey, this guy should be a cornerstone of our franchise, or at least a big contributor, and he's gone in 3 years. Now, you can't get stuck on sunk cost fallacy. Because you spend an 8th round pick on him does not mean you have to start him, or does not mean you have to force yourself to play him or force yourself to roster him. But I think him being an 8th round pick, that's one of the few misses they've really had in the draft in the last couple of years. It feels like they've gotten a lot better at that. I think they drafted that, and it wasn't even a miss, man. Like, Randall becoming good wasn't really a thing that you and I saw coming. Like, I think anyone as a Knicks fan wasn't like, yep, Randall's going to be an all-NBA forward twice in the next 3 seasons in this landscape of talent. But with that being said, overall, I guess if I were going to give a letter grade for today, I'd say it's an A+ day, man. I think it's an A+ day for a New York Knicks fan. They didn't overpay for anyone. They got decent value for Toppin, and they have some extra cap space from that deal. Do you disagree? You feel any differently, Dylan?
Nah, I mean, I feel pretty strongly about what you said. I mean, it's like an A to A plus range day for them. They didn't do anything crazy. They did the right moves they were supposed to do, the moves that we said they should be doing, such as moving off a Toppin and signing DiVincenzo. I'm only not firmly saying A plus because I think they still have some more work to do. I'm not gonna firmly sit here and say this is it. This is what they should do. This is how they should run into the next season with this roster. No, I think they still got some more work to do. So I don't want to say it's 1000% A plus fantastic day. I think it's a very successful day. So I agree with your grade A plus if you think that's what it is, and that's fine. I put it A because I feel like they still have more work to do, but that's me being kind of just like, oh, they still have more to do. This isn't the end, but I think it's successful. I think they did the right thing. So I'm satisfied. I'm very satisfied with what they did. I think they got the right pieces. They moved out the right pieces. They did what they were supposed to do. Now they need to start really negotiating with other teams for bigger moves, bigger trades, possibly star trades. I know we have some names that have been thrown out, such as, James Harden, Paul George, Zach LaVine. Big names, big ticket names, guys that will definitely sell some more tickets, and guys that will definitely kind of, add some flair to the Knicks as a whole. So I definitely think they got more to do, but I'm excited for what they did today. So we'll just see how the rest of the offseason plays out. And if they surprise us in free agency, which I personally don't expect them to do much else in free agency just because there isn't that many options. I feel like their best options are going to be through the trade market. So I feel like that's what they got to do going forward. And we'll just see what they do about that. But overall, I'm excited for what they do. I hope I don't get too cautiously optimistic that they're going to trade for X player or Y player, but we'll just have to wait and see on that front and see what they do. Whether they do it or not, it is what it is. I think they did the right thing today, though, and I think this is a good start. So those are kind of just my final thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that you're right in the sense that, number one, the Knicks have work to do still. If they want to, they have some work they got to do, especially considering that, yes, DiVincenzo's a good grab, and, Randall and Brunson are still here, and you've got the core of this team that won 48 games, but they won 48 games and got bounced by Miami, and I don't think they're going to get, I don't think they beat Miami just with Donte DiVincenzo. And with those rumors about Damian Lillard, it seems like that team could get a lot better very soon. So if you want to look, you can add Donte DiVincenzo, get better, but if they add Damian Lillard, then it's all for it feels like it would be all for naught. So it's a tough East. Out West you have Denver, and they feel unstoppable with Jokic, and you are not getting a player close to that caliber. But man, you just feel like you want to have a shot to get into the dance with and compete against these teams. So they have some work they need to do, but I feel like this is a step in the right direction. And again, good patience. They're not, going out there and throwing, no disrespect to Bruce Brown. They're not throwing $20 million to Bruce Brown to come off the bench for them, because the Pacers, again, they can start Bruce Brown. We can't. So hey, they're making the right moves right now. Now it's just setting themselves up for a big one. And I think getting those 2 second rounders is going to help them, in negotiations. It doesn't hurt to have 2 extra second round picks to work with. I don't think it'll be the difference maker. I don't think the Clippers are going to go, oh, you have 2 second rounders now. Okay, we can talk about Paul George. But it's just nice to have more assets. So with that being said, we'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section below about some of the moves the Knicks made today. Overall, I think it was a positive day for the Knicks, and I'm very excited to see what they do going forward. So if you guys want to keep up with what we've got going on, you guys check out Fireside Knicks on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. You can also check out our Twitter account. Unfortunately, Twitter is kind of being a little weird right now, so we're gonna kind of nudge you towards the direction of those other socials for now. The audio version and podcast version of this episode is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also check out our personal Twitter accounts. I know Dylan's pointing up to them. Again, I'm actually locked, so I went from retired to locked. So don't even at this point, just follow Dylan. Just from here on out, unless I flat out say, just follow Dylan. My account's cursed from now on. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next Fireside Knicks episode.